TSA is ending their take your shoes off policy at many airports around the United States. I'm not trying to sound like an elitist here, but if you've got TSA pre-check, you never take your shoes off. I can't imagine why anybody would ever stand in a line at an airport. There are things that, and I know I'm going to sound like an out-of-touch elitist. I get it. But when I saw Mitt Romney stand in a line behind 100 people years ago in New York City, when he flew in to try to kiss the ring of Donald Trump and grovel for a position in the Trump administration, remember that? Mitt Romney flew into an airport in New York and stood in a line behind 100 people rather than taking 5 seconds to get an Uber. I mean, there's just stuff available to people who, and I get if you never travel, maybe you don't know. Mitt Romney, certainly Mitt Romney travels. I'll never forget him standing in that taxi line. And it really spoke volumes to me about what a dummy he is. Hate to name call, but for crying out loud, you're going to wait an hour in a line with 100 people to get a taxi cab at JFK when you have a little Uber app and you push a button and the car pulls up in about 30 seconds and it takes you to wherever you want to go? Look, I hate to disparage the taxi cab industry, but Uber has replaced it. You don't need to stand on a street corner in the rain, flapping your arm, hoping that a taxi picks you up anymore. You got Uber on your app, on your phone. You got the Uber app. So it's kind of the same with flying. If you fly with any regularity and you don't have TSA pre-check, you're a little off. You got a couple of screws loose. Now, I'm joking a little bit here. Maybe what possible reason could you have for not having TSA pre-check if you fly? Even if you don't fly that much. For goodness sakes, why would you stand in a line? I don't know about you. I hate standing in line. I'm an impatient guy. And so I haven't taken my shoes off to get on an airplane in years. And then don't even get me started on Clear. That's the other one. And I think a lot of people have a distrust of providing any data about yourself to the government. That must be it. I don't know. I can't imagine. I mean, do you fly without TSA? Anyway, if you don't have TSA or Clear or Uber or running water or electricity, don't worry, you don't have to take your shoes off anymore. Evidently, the days of putting on taking your shoes off to go through the checkpoint at TSA, look, there's a clamoring to get rid of TSA altogether. Now, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think terrorists have given up on hurting us. I'm not sure that's a good idea, but there's a lot of people that are calling for the complete abolishment of TSA altogether. We don't need all those TSA agents. We don't need all those people checking people at the airport. You think terrorists have changed their mind about using planes as lethal weapons? Are we that far removed from 9/11 that we forget what they did and how they did it? I understand balancing national security and safety concerns with our personal liberties and our freedoms. It would be great to just get on a plane. But as I see these more and more articles suggesting that it's time to say goodbye to TSA, steer me in the right direction if you feel that way. Because to me, that's crazy. That is insane. What do you think the first thing the terrorists are going to do if we don't have any way of checking people for weapons before they get on an airplane? They're going to repeat 9/11. They're going to try to fly a plane into some big location of national significance. 800-655-Mike. What am I missing here? So, again, Christine No made the announcement, the shoes off policy coming to an end. I guess that's great. Okay. Again, if you've got TSA, you never take your shoes off. But if you don't have TSA, maybe you'll be relieved because it's kind of demeaning and weird and kind of gross. Walking in your stocking feet, trudging through the metal detector. And this, of course, came after the shoe bomber. Remember the guy that after 9/11 that tried to blow up another plane and it fizzled out and he had a bomb in his shoe. So now, apparently, the shoes off policy, according to TSA and the federal government, is no longer needed. What's your reaction to that? And what's your reaction to the narrative that we ought to get rid of TSA altogether? I'd kind of like not to be sitting on a plane next to, Abdul the butcher who wants to blow us to kingdom come because he's got a bomb with him or a gun. And he's going to overtake the flight attendants and kill them and kill the pilots just like they did that horrific day in 2001. Give me your thoughts on it. 800-655-Mike. Live view of New York City if you're watching on Salem News Channel. Beautiful skyline, which of course was changed forever when terrorists flew planes into the Twin Towers, the World Trade Center. Now, of course, there's the giant, majestic Freedom Tower in its place next to the 9/11 memorial. We sure don't want that to happen again. TSA is ending the shoes off policy at airports across the United States. It seems to me, as Alpharetta, Georgia just texted me on the MyPillow text line, the world is getting more dangerous. They know they can get away with anything. We must stay alert, keep TSA, and find more ways of safety, not less. And what my concern is this announcement of ending the shoes off policy has unleashed a narrative that we should get rid of TSA altogether, and I'm not quite sure I follow the argument. I think it has something to do with the cost, perhaps, but TSA I don't think is in the DOGE crosshairs. I'm not real sure our federal government should begin to soften security screening at our nation's airports. Should it all be privatized? Should the airlines absorb the cost? What happened to those air marshals? Are there still air marshals on planes? That was a big thing after 9/11. So give me your reaction to this whole announcement that TSA is ending the shoes off policy. We'll start with Ted in Pittsburgh. We have an open line, incidentally, if you want to join us. 800-655-Mike, 800-655-6453. Hey, Ted, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Good, Mike. Hey, yeah, I think it's a stupid idea. Why stop something that's working?
Yeah, I mean...
Right? It's
right.
Ridiculous.
Why? I don't even... Well, do you understand what the argument against it is? Why?
No idea, no.
Why are we...
Other than...
What's that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
The argument against it would be, well, yeah, I'm a terrorist, so I don't want to do it. I'm going to put some weapon in my shoe.
So
right?
you don't like the idea of even ending the shoes off policy in the first place?
No, like I say, why stop something that's working?
Okay, I appreciate it. I have to admit, even as a frequent flyer, though, I'm a little confused since people with TSA don't have to take their shoes off. What's the difference? You're going through the same magnetometer. Let me bring Eric Hansen into this conversation for a minute. Eric, come over here for just a second. I want to ask you that question. You travel a pretty good amount of time. You and Gina and the girls like to tour the world. You are often an international traveler.
I do sometimes travel, yes.
Yeah, all right. So why do people you have TSA, I presume, right?
I have global, what is it, global entry?
Global entry, that's for international coming back. But do you have TSA?
Yeah, I have pre-check also. That's part of global access, or global entry.
Right, TSA pre-check. Right.
Yep.
So why do you and I not have to take our shoes off, but people without TSA pre-check do?
Well, because we all went for that special little interview at Newark Airport for 5 minutes going, you look okay. Yeah, you have it.
Yeah, you're not a terrorist.
Yeah, you don't look like a terrorist to me.
You're good. You're good to go. But that's it. That is the difference, right? That they feel like there's some kind of they've connected with you and they've pre-screened you in advance.
Right.
And therefore, maybe we won't have a bomb in our shoe.
Right. I mean, global entry, as you know, is a little bit of a rigmarole, but once you do it, then you kind of have it. And as long as, I'm assuming as long as you don't cause any trouble after that, that you can always have it.
Right. Well, global entry is another level. TSA is different. That's domestic, right? Global entry is for international travel.
Right. You have to have pre-check before you do global entry. So when you do one, you have both.
And now with global entry, although I don't even know that it's necessarily a global entry thing, have you noticed how efficient it is to scan your passport and get not only into a country but come back into the United States? There's like nobody there anymore.
Oh yeah. It's funny actually because I have global entry, but my wife does not. So we were traveling internationally earlier this year, and we had to wait in a long line because I wasn't going to go through global entry and then go sit on a bench waiting for her to go through customs. So I was just sort of longingly looking at all the people who were just whisking through global entry while we stood in a long line. But it's easy.
It's
really
crazy.
easy.
The last time I flew international, I forget, coming back, I think, from Mexico, although now Americans aren't welcome in Mexico. More on that story in just a moment. But the last time I flew back in, I came into the customs area, and I just had to scan my passport, and there wasn't a person. Like nobody even, you know how they normally check you at customs and say, now it's all done electronically.
Yeah, they're big, and you see that actually overseas a bunch too, where there's these big like plazas with machines, and you just go through and scan your.
The UK,
yeah,
they have it. They have it over in England too.
Yep.
All right,
yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Jeff in Orlando. Jeff, you know many TSA agents. What do you think is behind the reversal of the no shoes policy?
So I'll tell you what, I fly quite a bit of miles a year for work, mostly domestic, about 500,000. I'm coming out of Orlando, very busy airport, Disney World during the summer.
Right.
And unfortunately, what really stands with me is this might just be a cause du jour for the current administration. I like a lot of what they've done, but technology has not gotten worse since they tried to plant ceramic weapons or shoe bombs into sneakers and that.
Right.
It's gotten better. So unfortunately, on this one decision, I'm going to have to defer to not agreeing, because what happens when someone decides, hey, this is a great idea, it's an invitation for us to come do this,
right?
And then the policy will go back. So
then they'll revert to it again. You're right. As soon as there's another incident, heaven forbid, then they'll go back to what they were doing before they loosened the standards. I mean,
and again, technology has not gotten worse; it's gotten better since this happened.
But wait a minute. But if the technology is better, doesn't that help the argument that we don't need to do as much, like take off our shoes?
And by that I mean technology's gotten better on both sides of the coin. It's gotten better to deter, but it's also gotten better to attack.
I see what you mean. I got it. I got what you're saying. All right, Jeff. Drive safe. Glad you called. Thanks. Look, I don't know. Somebody just texted from Winter Park, Florida. There's no evidence that TSA has foiled any terrorist attempts. Look, we'll see what happens. I just don't know that it's a great idea to be less safe in the skies than we used to be. But maybe that's just me. You know me, I'm a big baby anyway.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.